All right, welcome to episode 21, 20, 22, something like that. So welcome to this episode of the Devlogs, episode 22, right? My recording, yeah. So, quick recap, what we did yesterday was implemented, if we go up to hittable, we've got our hazard hittable, normal hittable. I still need to do progress hittable, but that's fine. We got our power up. Implemented this reset radius method inside paddle so that now when we're modifying the radius, we just have to call reset radius to reset it back to the default. We've got this enum called effect key. So anytime I'll have an effect, I'll plug in an effect key, especially if it's two contrasting effects like increasing the paddle size and decreasing the paddle size. I'm going to pass in the effect. So what we're doing now, we're passing in the effect key. So for the power up, we've got effect key paddle size, hazard, effect key paddle size, and then inside our status effect manager, which should be persistent, so it's here. We're pulling in a cancellation token source and we got a dictionary which holds the effect key and cancellation token source. We're basically taking that and then basically to cut a long story short, what we're doing is if a new effect comes into play, we're cutting the old one, uh, executing the new one, and since the last one is gone, it's just the new one that takes over basically. So that's what we're doing. I can get rid of these now. We can get rid of these. I can get rid of that because we don't need these debug statements anymore. And yeah, so now it works. Now if I have two contrasting effects in play, then it's fine. So let's just quickly do a game demo. So right now we've got, if you remember, this is our power up and this is our hazard. So let's hit the power up if we can. It increases the paddle size. Then if I hit the hazard, then it decreases it and it overrides the power up so that now the hazard actually executes for 15 seconds instead of just being overlapped by the original power up that we hit. So that was 15 seconds, I hope, anyways. So that's good. In terms of next steps now, what I want is, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Let me just double check because I've written a bunch of notes. We got this, which was the bug where when we stack the effects, it goes a bit wrong. And then we got this, so we made this small improvement. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this bounce thing, but we'll get rid of this for now. And so we've done all this. Next is targets, then power ups. So we got targets and power ups. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just manually inside hittable spawner. Inside hittable spawner, let's get rid of my input overlay. Inside my hittable spawner, where inside the ready method, I'm just manually spawning in all the hittables. So I'm manually spawning in 3 hittables, then a power up, then a hazard. So what I want, I'm not sure if it's going to be inside hittable spawner or inside a level manager. I'm going to create like a basic level manager, hook that up to the hittable spawner, and then this level manager is just going to be a basic thing of, okay, randomly spawn in targets, sorry, not targets, they're called progress. I renamed them. So randomly spawn in progress hittables, power up hittables, hazard hittables in like random order, and then make sure that it's within the within the playfield basically. So I would either need to have to recognize when where the playfield is, either have an area 2D node. I've not done this before, I'm just theorizing what possible solutions I could have. So either have an area 2D node to symbolize the playfield and just make sure I spawn in a random position inside the area 2D, or actually take in the, because remember at the very beginning I got this wall right, wall left, and wall top. So all of these nodes here. So I could take in the positions of these and also the wherever wherever pull-out zone. Take in all of these positions, map them out, and then go, okay, this is the playfield. Spawn, the level manager would say, okay, spawn a random thing next. So spawn hittables next in a random area here, or spawn a hazard hittables somewhere randomly here, then spawn after a few seconds, then spawn that. I'm gonna try to do something like that. Not sure about the solution, like I said, but we'll see how I get on with that, and then hopefully I can show you how I've done it and explain it. So let me do that now. Right, so um, it's actually been a couple of days. You might not know because I had a couple of devlogs sort of on a backlog. So this is coming out a day after. But I've actually been working on this for a couple of days, a mixture of I didn't know what to do or how to do it, and then also being unmotivated and watching the England game and being pulled dragged this direction, that direction, not having to do it. But anyways, this is not a daily vlog, this is a devlog. So I managed to get something in. This is going to be the end of the devlog. I'm going to keep it short because I just want to pump something out for now, and it's getting late and I don't really have time to do the next part, and I don't want to wait, have a gap in devlogs. So I'll just explain what I've got if I can remember. So I was working on a couple of days, tried to figure out like a way to do it, tried to understand the logic of how I'm going to place certain parts of the architecture, and yeah, and then I started developing one of them. Then I realized I wasn't really actually wrapping my head around how it was working or whatever, so I scrapped it, started from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but like I scrapped that and then did it again. Now I somewhat have a better understanding of what's going on. So to explain what's happening, I've got my level manager, game manager, hittable spawner, right? I don't think anything else matters, to be honest. So inside my level manager, here's how it's working, right? I've got my references to the spawn area. I've got my reference to the hittable spawner script, right? That's the node that's actually doing the spawning. And then I've got a reference to game manager. I've got an array of hittables, so all the hittables I have, I'll just stack into there for now. Not sure if that's going to be final design, but it's there anyways. Then we got my tuning value, so I've got max hittables allowed, so on screen I'll only allow 5. I don't want it to keep on spawning, right? Then we got min spawn interval and max spawn interval, so I don't want it to be like a consistent every single 5 seconds it spawns. I want it to be a little bit staggered, so within a period, within a range, spawn within this range, so between 3 and 7 seconds that I've set it. Then I got my runtime variables. This one's current number of hittables, so I'm just tracking how many hittables do I have on screen, and then RNG for the random for the random number generator. So I'm already doing all of this stuff, and then for game manager, I know my comments are atrocious, but I like it. Then for my game manager, if it's not no, then subscribe to game manager's hittable destroyed. Why am I doing that? I might get onto why I'm doing that in a second, but the thing is, hittables is a non-persistent object, and with non-persistent object, it's like really difficult to get that signal hittable destroyed and hittable spawn, hittable hit, and hittable destroyed because it's non-persistent. It might go away or whatever. So I remember that it was really difficult to weave the logic in for that. So I thought, since I'm already weaving that logic into Game Manager, now for anything else that needs to access, um, you know, the signal of when a hittable has been destroyed, just come to Game Manager for that because Game Manager is consistent, right? It will always be there as opposed to hittable, which isn't always going to be there. That's why for ball, especially, I'm not sure if before I was doing this, but especially from now on, for ball signals, I guess it's better to go to Game Manager for that. Oh no, for ball, I've got a method inside Game Manager which allows you to point to the current ball, but that's not possible with hittables because there could be multiple hittables or whatever. So, anyways, I decided to do it like this because I remember trying to weave it in and like trying to make sure, okay, am I getting the correct hittable and whatever. It was bare long anyways. So I thought, okay, it's better to actually go to Game Manager, and Game Manager signals. So it's basically like a relay, right? Let's draw this out. So we got our hittable, right? My H's are absolutely terrible, which is weird because my name begins with H. Okay, hittable, right? That's like a thing that could either exist or not exist at any given second. Then we got Game Manager, which always exists, right? So hittable does the signal. I've done some weaving magic to make sure it's Game Manager's. My draw is terrible. I've done some weaving magic to make sure Game Manager is always hooked up to hittable, so that Game Manager will always know if a hittable has been hit or destroyed. So since that could now no longer exist or sometimes do exist, and I don't want to do this weaving logic for anything else that needs to find out whether a hittable has been hit. Instead, since this is being Game Manager is being given the signal, now Game Manager becomes the hub for anything else that's persistent or non-persistent to find out, oh, has a hittable been destroyed? What hittable is it? Blah de blah. So now Game Manager has its own on hittable destroyed to do a signal, and then one of those signals is level manager. Pardon the terrible writing. So that was the logic behind it. So for level manager, I'm subscribing to that. So on hittable destroyed, I'm just negating the current number of hittables. Didn't work. I might explain in a bit. We have also randomize, obviously, and we got start spawn loop on ready. So start spawn loop, while current number of hittables is less than max hittables allowed, delay between this range, to signal. We've seen this before, the async to signal await stuff to like get like a time period. And then after we wait a certain amount of seconds, then spawn hittable and then increment current number of hittables, right? So spawn hittables, what's that doing? I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible because if we get like really into the weeds, I'm going to get confused and you're going to get confused as well. So spawn hittables, what I'm doing is this is just a guard, so don't worry about that. Where we've got the hittables array, which is all the hittables that I can select from. We got index rng dot rand I range 0 to hittable length -1, so we're getting a random hittable within that array. Instance hittables at that index, and then I'm calling hittable spawner spawn hittable at random and giving it that instance. So the packed scene is what I'm giving it. So it'll either be a progress hittable, a hazard hittable, or a power up hittable. So that's how that's working. My process isn't being used right now. I might use it in the future. I'll explain that in a bit once I talk about bugs. So hittable spawner, like I said, the logic of, because originally I was doing all this in Game Manager, then I realized actually the logic lives inside hittable spawner. To be honest with you, because I don't want level manager worrying about trying to get a random point and spawning it in. Actually, the level manager should just tell the hittable spawner, hey, spawn a hittable in at this point, or say, hey, spawn a hittable at a random point. So my last spawn hittable, I changed it and I called it spawn hittable at point and given it the packed scene and the point that I want to spawn it at, right? And then we've got this spawn hittable at random, which the level manager is calling, right? Giving it the pack scene. Remember here, I'm saying spawn hittable at random, giving it the instance. So that's going to be the hittable. And before spawning, move the marker to a random point, set random spawn point. Then the normal logic that I had before. So hittable equals pack scene instantiate hittable. Make this the parent. Add the hittable as a child of this. Hittable.global position equals hittable spawn point, because by this point I've set the spawn point to a random point. So now I'm setting the hittable's global position to wherever the marker that I've just set is, and then emit the signal, obviously. So in terms of set random spawn point, this is where the bulk of the logic was. I tried to do a lot of researching about how to do this and getting really confused because it's really complex to try to understand. Godot, especially for area 2Ds, which is a collision polygon, instead of uh, what's the other one called? I've got it here, I think. Ball sport. No, it's not called that. Ball out zone. Collision shape 2D is a regular rectangle, right? That's easy to get around them. But if you're using a polygon, which this is, let me show it here, right? Because I don't want it to be a square. I want it to fit the edge of the playfield. Since it's not a square, you have to do a roundabout. There's not like an easy way in Godot to do it, is what I figured out. So this is how, I went to AI as well because it was getting really difficult, and this is how I was told to do it. It's a lot, and like I said, if I get too into detail, it gets confusing. So we've got our guards. Get the collision polygon child from area 2D. So we're getting the collision polygon. Then get the polygon points from the collision polygon 2D. So that's these points here, I believe. All right. Polygon needs at least 3 points, so that's a guard as well. Get a rectangle that wraps around the polygon we will pick random points inside this rectangle first. So bounds, get polygon bounds, which is this method there, which I don't want to get into, but that's it there. And then we got max attempts 100, try up to 100 times to find a valid random point inside the polygon. So it's just looping over 100 times to try to get a valid point. So pick a random x and y value inside of polygon's bounding rectangle. That's what we're doing there. Check if the random point is actually inside the polygon. The point and polygon are both local instead of being global, right? So we're checking if geometry 2D is point in polygon, random local point, this here, compared to polygon. Is this point inside polygon? If it is random global point, we're setting the random local point to global collision polygon, collision polygon, and then setting random global point, assigning that to random global point. And then random global point gets assigned to hittable spawn point dot global position. So this spawn point here. So you've got the hittable spawner and the hittable spawn point as a child, which is the marker 2D that I've got. So this is just being set to random points basically. And then by that point, we found a valid point. So stop the method here, return, and then if it goes loops 100 times, then we failed to find a point after 100 tries. So basically output an error message. So yeah, believe it or not, I worked on that for a couple of days. Like I said, multiple reasons why, and it's just long, and I just want to pump something out. So I'm going to show you what I've got. Just try to remember this area 2D here. So this is the hittable spawn area. I'm going to disable the visuals for now because it actually gets in the way it's hard to see the hittables. Now, I do have a couple of bugs, but it somewhat works. The bugs I'm going to work on tomorrow for the next devlog. So we see here, I'll build, run, and you can see after a couple seconds, it should spawn in. There we go. We got a random hittable, and that's the power up one. And there should be another one hittable there, and you can see one of my issues. We got another hittable, that's 2, that's 3 overall, that's 4 overall, I believe. That's 5 overall. Now let's see if another one spawns in. Oh, another one did. Okay, so now that's 4. Let another one come in. 5. And now I believe no more. But anyways, you can see that somewhat random. It somewhat works. Let's try to destroy one of them, and let's see if it works beyond this now. Once we hit the max, let's just use my super shot, man. There we go. There we go. That's 2 gone. And you can see after a couple of seconds, even though we're leaving it for more than 7 seconds, nothing's being spawned. So yeah, somewhat works. I believe the hard part of the logic's done, trying to get a random point within that. I'm having debugger things. Hit me, no reference. Okay, that's fine. I believe that's because of one of the bugs. So, what are the bugs? Wrote them down. So I need a way to decrease current number of hittables when a hittable has been destroyed so they keep spawning. I did try to implement this with the signal coming from game manager saying a hittable has been destroyed. So on hittable destroyed inside level manager, I'm saying current num of hittables, decrease it by 1, right? Uzbekistan versus, oh, who's that? Colombia. That's why I was turning. So I thought this will fix it. It somewhat fixes it in currently somewhat fixed, right? We saw that until max is reached, then stops working. So if it spawns like 3 hittables, then I hit one, then there's only 2 left, and it will spawn another one 3, then it spawn another one 4, then I hit one, then now there's 3. If I keep it within the range, it's fine with this. But once it hits the max, it stops working. And I believe it stops working because I'm doing start spawn loop inside ready, right? Which this is spawning it. But I'm saying I only do this while current number of hittables is less than max hittables. So once I reach the max, this stops completely. This method's done, and that's why once I hit the max, which is 5, even though I'll get rid of some hittables on the screen, this method's done. It stops running. That's the reason why that bug's still there. So I need to figure a way to fix that bug. I've also got other bugs as well, which you saw and I wrote down. So hittable spawns in weird places. It is doing it randomly. Let me turn this off. So it is doing it randomly, which is good. That was the hard part and difficult thing to try to like wrap my head around. So that's the logic for that sorted, but it still needs to be tweaked, which is it's going to be a little bit scary because I'm going to have to go into it a little bit deeper. So what are the problems? Sometimes the hittables is spawning in areas where it's still spawning in the area, but the edges are overlapping the walls. Right? If you need a drawing, so we got my wall here, wall here, wall here, and the hittable. The center point would be here. So technically it's still within the area, but the edges are overlapping basically. So I need a way to, where's it gone? So I need a way to fix this bug, the edges overlapping the walls on spawn. Another issue is they spawn over on top of each other, which is definitely a bad thing that needs to be fixed. And the last thing is it's being spawned either where the ball spawns, which shouldn't be the case, it shouldn't spawn there, or it spawns where the ball is about to go. I'll explain this in a bit. The second one's a bit more niche, but I think in terms of gameplay it's better. So obviously we got our playfield, ball spawn, the spawn point is there, right, for the ball. And then sometimes the hittable is being spawned here, or being spawned here, or being spawned here, right? Still within the area, but I don't want it spawning in that directly on where the ball might spawn or where the ball is spawns, but it will fall. Do you know what I mean? That's obviously a bad thing. But another thing, which is a bit more niche, and I don't know how I'd fix it, is let's say I've got like, okay, it's time to spawn in another hittable, and I've just like, we got a pivot here, and we've just struck the ball, right? Struck the ball, and the ball's going this way, right? Let's say the ball's here for now, but it's going this direction. Then this level manager is getting a random point and it's deciding, all right, let's spawn the hittable here. Well, since the ball's already traveling that direction, it's going to automatically hit it. Now, maybe this distance is fine if it's like a longer distance, but like let's say in a scenario where the ball is here, right? And I decide, all right, let me spawn a hittable right there. It feels a bit janky. It doesn't feel right. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's too lucky and it's too, like I said, it's janky. You know what I mean? So I want a way to figure out, okay, if the ball's going this direction, don't spawn it in its direction. Try to spawn it somewhere else. You know what I mean? To make it feel a bit more robust as a game. Those are the problems. Other than that, to be honest, it's fine. Works well. And after I fix all of this, I'm gonna move on to visuals because I feel like that's the correct next step. But that's a long way. That's a long way to go. It's just that I'm just sick and tired of seeing this debug screen, and these aren't actually like. This is just collisions showing because I toggled collisions on, visible collision shapes. So these aren't even like in the actual game. It's actually invisible, to be honest. But anyways, that's visuals is for later, like 2 devlogs or 3 devlogs down the line. In terms of that's gonna wrap up this devlog. I'm happy with what I did. Again, implemented level manager, get a random spawn point, spawning it in. For the plan for the next devlog is gonna be to fix those bugs that I spoke about. Um, Mainly max number of hittables, try to figure that out, and then also, okay, I'm getting a random point, but the random point, Colombia just scored, the random point might be in the way of a ball or in the ball spawn point, or they're overlapping each other or on the edges. So figure out like, yes, get a random point, but don't put it in these areas. Do you know what I mean? That's the that's the next step. I'm gonna do that for tomorrow's devlog, but that's gonna be it for today. I'm happy with what I've done. I'm tired. 3 days of half procrastination, half just watching football, half just doing other things, and a half trying to wrap my head around this. So I want to leave it here for now. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try to edit this and get this out for tomorrow. And yeah, take care. See you later.